Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Challenge All Stars 4 Wrap Up Podcast for episode 5. I am Brian Cohn. With me, as always, is my co host, Ali Lasher. Ali, how are you?
I still have my headset on, so I don't want to talk about it. But what a great episode. I am just like, this is in recent seasons. Well, let's put it this way. I was like, oh my God, we're already on episode 5. I'm like so upset. I don't want it to be over.
Yeah, this has been a really good season. I mean, everything about it has just been so good. I tweeted that out, Mark Long. I guess we're now BFFs. He just retweeting anything I put out. He
Slay.
put it on his Instagram story. Didn't know you could even do that. But it's been such a fun season all the way around.
Why did this sit for 2 years? Like, I think before I was sort of
Oh,
agnostic.
no.
You were definitely into the lore of it. And I was like, oh, yeah, like that film. I cannot understand why you have like a phenomenal season, maybe the best of the 4 seasons of All Star so far. Obviously, too soon to tell, but really promising. And then it sits for 2 years. Like, what are we doing?
I don't get it. I mean, obviously, like MTV proper version takes precedent, and I'm sure they were big on the USA versions and the World Championships, but this is the best of them. And I mean, well, we can get into if they're ruining them, but like this is the best of them. This is the best franchise going right now, and the season's been the best of the best.
One thing I want to go back to from last week, just because this was cemented in the previously on for this week. They definitely did this in the episode proper, but they hammered it in the previously on that they're giving Killicam credit for the move of convincing Jasmine and Brandon to target
Hmm.
Cara and Rachel last week. Obviously, that plays out again in this episode when Cara has power. But do you believe like Cam was really the mastermind behind that, or were Jasmine and Brandon like working on that on their own?
It seemed like they were working on that on their own. I mean, unless Cam was kind of laying the groundwork. I mean, I know she was like kind of laying the groundwork on Cara a little bit beforehand, but it seemed like Jasmine and Brandon were like, "No, like I want to do this," and then Cara like kind of came over the top and was like, "Yeah, let's make this happen. Like this is the move to make." But it seemed like based off the conversation, I mean, it seemed they were having these conversations even before, at least based off the edit, before Cara was even in last, and it was even a possibility. So I think if at least one of or both Jasmine and Brandon were 100% like ready to go, and then they're just giving Cam the credit here.
Yeah, last week I remember there was like one conversation where maybe Jasmine said like one of their names and maybe someone else. Then they like showed a conversation of Cam setting that out. And then like suddenly it was Cam's move. And Cam certainly was in favor of it. And so like we'll talk about the efforts to repair that road that goes south. But I was just like, it's a little bit, I think, forced here to say Cam is responsible. Like Cam put it in their heads, and like now they should face the wrath of it. But send me my badge in the mail, my KD badge, Cam Defender, because I'm just out here like, I don't know if that was her fault, even though she fully was like, send them in.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously between the three, Cam is like the bigger star for the show. Like it would make sense the show would want to give Cam credit, especially since we lose Brandon this week anyway. But from a full the correct narrative perspective, it doesn't seem like Cam should have been getting as much credit as maybe the show was giving her.
And then the last thing I want to read into in the previous line, before we even get on the episode, I want to savor the whole episode. I'm like, let's look at the previous line. They transition into the main episode, giving Kara kind of like a weird button on that. Did you catch that?
A little bit. There was a weird transition, but like, what was like the full thing? Like, it was weird.
Yeah, she was like, she looks straight to camera and is like, I'm going to be the next Challenge All Stars champion and earn that $250,000. Onto the episode. I was like, oh, okay. Like, is she? Like, it just felt a
Well, she
little,
is the
I don't
Lone
know. Sorry.
Star, right? Well, that was their nickname, the Lone Star. So, I don't know.
And just shout out to the music again. Hit 'em up style, incredible choice. Like they do not miss. It is just so good. And honestly, we say this every All Stars. It makes such a difference. Like
It
it
does.
makes such a difference.
Yeah, it is. You know, I talked about this with the work. It's like the unique part of this show that a lot of other reality TV shows don't really do. They don't. want to pay the music rights. They don't have the music rights. Like they don't get into that. They kind of create their own theme songs along the way. Like it's so fun that they're able to pick and choose from this huge music catalog, especially to do throwbacks for a show like All Stars. It's like the how many people were on the show? 24. It's the 25th contestant this season is the music choice.
Yeah, and the same could be said for our podcast. You're
There
doing
we
the
go.
music segments, the third co-host.
Yeah. The color segments, the extra one. We got a whole many more contestants here on this podcast.
I'm fighting an strong urge to make a joke about having to check my soup behind me, but I don't think it'll go out smoothly. But like, I keep looking at this box. Anyway, welcome to any new video listener watchers joining us now. As a result, you'll be
Mhm.
disappointed. It's just a pot. Anyway,
Anything let's bring them over. Get that YouTube click. I want to see more of those. Let's get those YouTube clicks.
um, I did love Brandon. Obviously we start with a little bit of a commentary from Jasmine and Brandon now that they failed to get rid of Kara. Um, and I absolutely loved both of their reactions. Jasmine being like, "That's crazy. She gave me the star. Like, slay, love it." And
Mhm.
Brandon was like, "I don't regret the shot, but I am genuinely scared of Kara."
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate it's going to play out the way it did because this is everyone's big fear about taking a big shot is the person they want to get out doesn't get out. They come into power or they like manipulate the vote to get you in and then you go home immediately. So for people who want to play scared, they can be like, well, look at Brandon in episode 5 of Challenge All Stars. That like I'll be exactly why I want to play scared and play safe and not like go for the big move because it came back to bite him in a hurry. And he paid the punishment.
Yeah, I think maybe this is something, if I can remember to last week, we maybe glossed over. Like, obviously hindsight's 2020 and he goes home on a vote he probably wouldn't have gone in on, although I don't know the relationships of the rest of that middle team with the other men who are up for it. But, spoiler alert, Brandon goes home this episode at the hands of Kara. Forgetting that, do you think it was the right move or he moved too soon on someone he could have trusted?
So I guess like the important question is what genuinely does Kara think of Brandon? Like I know Kara is acting all offended that like her best friend Brandon of all these years would how dare he turn on me when we had this long-standing friendship and Brandon makes it very clear that they really don't have much of a friendship at all. They just happened to like kind of premiere on the same show, but they haven't really talked in 8 years, so they're not really that friends. So if Kara truly had Brandon's back, you could make the argument that it probably was not the best move to go after someone who maybe is not like your number one, but amongst the cast of like 20 people left is like fourth or fifth maybe of protecting for Kara. But at the same time, as Brandon points out, because this is an individual season, he is his competition is Kara. This isn't like him and Kara both can't win individually, so he's got to take the shot. He's also had to take a shot at Rachel. Getting Rachel out was still a big win for him and everyone else involved. So I think it was at the end of the day the right move. He just got a little bit unlucky that it bounced back on him so quickly.
Yeah, I think also there would be plenty of people who would want to take that shot that you'd be aligned with, that you could kind of like avoid being part of the deciding vote, and kind of what Cara was doing with Rachel. Like, well, I want to protect my star, so I'm not going to vote Rachel, but she's going in anyway. Brennan's like, I didn't want to vote Cara, whatever.
Mhm.
I do think like Cara what Cara's excuse she gives to Brandon of like, I'm a hermit when I'm not on the show, feels like it rings true. I feel like we've heard that about her before, from her, about her. And I don't think she's kind of has like a Jordan mentality of she's not really threatened by anybody at the end. So I
Mhm.
don't think she'd turn around and say, like, suddenly I want to run the final with the men and women I perceive as the weakest. That's like not really her game. So I don't think she'd have a reason to be targeting Brandon. So, he definitely increases his threat level, and maybe it's too soon to to make a move on. If Cara left, great. Rachel's still coming back mad. So you have, regardless, an extremely strong woman with a reason to put a target on your back early on. But that said, I'm like, it's refreshing to see two people play towards the end game without just like trying to kiss the feet of the strongest people, even if that's like the right move. So
Yeah.
I love it. Swing big, Brandon. I thought he
Mhm.
had a big impact, even in his small stay in the season.
Yeah, and a greater point was he doesn't seem to regret it. Like, yeah, it went poorly, but he's like, you know what? I took a shot, I missed. I had my chance in elimination. I lost. I blew it. So if he's not the one coming out here being like, "Oh my god, this is so stupid," to all future players, like, "Don't do this. This is ridiculous." Like, he's not saying any of that. So that shouldn't be the takeaway from anyone else either.
A greater point. Okay. um, I couldn't
I'm thinking for
resist.
the future of the show because we want more of this. The
And a
greater
better
point,
point, and an even better point to your
please.
greater point is who cares about that because Leroy's barbershop is open and I absolutely need this to be a weekly segment.
Yeah, it's nice to have businesses that are promoted on reality TV actually open and talked about and have customers. So good for Leroy and his barbershop. Maybe he should serve sandwiches.
um, I thought, before we get to Leroy, because there's so much to say about Leroy opening up this episode is really amazing stuff from Leroy, especially having seen him on television over, for such a long time. I want to talk about Adam briefly, the
Oh,
first customer we see. I don't know how to say this. Don't cut this clip and put it on TikTok. I I like Adam. Like I think Adam seems like a nice stand-up guy. He's had some fun moments. He seems like a great competitor. Shout out to him dating Avery. That seems amazing for both of them.
shout out to them.
Do you ever see someone on television, even though you don't know them? It's like we'd have nothing to say to each other in a room. He
I
wouldn't
didn't
want
know
to talk to
where.
me either. Like,
I was so curious where that was gonna go. I didn't know if you like. I feel like we're gonna be the best friends ever, or I don't think it would have. I didn't know where it was gonna go. So I think that tracks though. Seems like
to
just like a
quote
good old boy.
to quote Frank Costanza, this guy's not my kind of guy. Like, and I don't dislike him. Like, this seems so terrible, but who cares what I think? I don't matter. We're no press. But like, when he says like, um, I forget what he says. Like, oh, he's like, I appreciate you. Like, you treat Cam like a queen, and like beauty transcends this experience. I was like, I wish I lived with the level of peace that this man has achieved. Like, I was like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, does seem very nice, comfortably disconnected from the world, as probably the best place to be for a reality TV person.
Truly much respect. But let's talk about Leroy, who's really the star of this scene. Like, I also loved his response to that. Like, Cam would not allow me to treat her in any other way. I have tried.
And she has let me know, and we've all watched it on television.
The like opposite of what's happening with Nicole and Laurel. Like, I keep thinking like, well, Cam
Mhm.
and Leroy came in like not speaking, and then look at them.
Yeah,
Beauty transcends the experience.
yeah. But yeah, so I mean, Leroy, a very heartwarming scene opens up about his kid who's now he's entering college. I think their firstborn at this point. But he opens up about
But
uh, how after Kingston was born, he was starting to feel either a combination of like an extra sense of pressure and also like some depression, some postpartum depression. He kind of highlighted from the male side of it, which he points out is not something you hear talked about, let alone on reality TV, really anywhere kind of in the world. So highlighting on something that I'm sure a lot of other people probably feel. And if someone like Leroy can open up about it, I'm sure it makes it a lot easier for someone else, for anyone else to do so. And it was great to kind of see the great partnership of both Cam and Leroy at full circle here. I think, Leroy opens up about it. Cam has a confessional saying how thankful she is that Leroy opened up to her about that so they could work through it together. So it was just a great scene to show like what a great partnership they have. What a great couple they are.
Totally. And then, later in the episode, he talks about sort of like them curing their generational trauma and like, how he didn't have his father around. And now it's so
Hmm.
important for him to be a great father, which undoubtedly he is and they are. It's amazing how sort of like present Kingston is in this episode. It's really,
Yeah.
really amazing to watch. So like kudos to Leroy and thanks for sharing that. Certainly not easy to do. And it's awesome to see. Leroy, we joke about he wasn't gone for long, but he's come in with a new perspective. He's really changed and you know, it's awesome to
Hmm.
see.
Yeah, he wasn't gone for a long time wise, but seemingly he was gone a lot, like personal growth wise and personal achievement wise, everything that's kind of happened with him in the last few years. So there'll be a lot has happened to him in his life that's kind of happened in between. So it's nice to have this, new Leroy amongst the crowd.
And then jump scare, smash cut to Nicole and Laurel
Yeah, the
wrestling.
opposite. The opposite of a good relationship and a good couple.
Hey.
This has been building for a little while. It's nice. It was refreshing also because we talked about this of like, oh, it just feel like it went immediately from Laurel and Nicole, they can't stand to be in the kitchen with each other, to them like mindlessly flirting. And we get that exact confessional, I think, from Veronica being like, what, they're friends now? They're flirting with each other? What just happened? I feel like I missed the scene. Because, yeah, we all feel like we missed the scene. And all of a sudden, they're having like the most awkward flirting moments. All comes to a head later on. But like, we get the full Laurel and Nicole treatment this episode from beginning to end.
I can't prove this, but it does feel, based on my memory, so nobody can at me because it's just based on my thoughts, like some real old school OG challenge toxicity relationship drama. In the way that even like Jordan and Tori with like Nerese, I almost felt like Tori was still like aware of the cameras, aware of social media, like this is like what's happening with Laurel and Nicole is as though they forget that like they're going to watch this back, that people are going to be on Twitter about it, and like they're not conscious of it at all, because the conversation with Flora and Nicole was fascinating. Like,
Yeah.
Flora's like, hey, we all know you don't like Laurel, and maybe you've said to her, I don't want to do this with you again. But the fact that you are hooking up with her and flirting is probably sending mixed messages. Like, this feels like a very old school, like real world conversation to be having.
Right. Yeah, it was
Not
giving
real
like
world, like the show Real World.
yeah. It felt like some of like the relationship stuff we used to see with like Zach, whether it was like with John A or with Jenna, and like people have to be like to Zach, like, do you know what you're doing? And he's like, no. Like if Nicole was Zach, like we would be saying, oh my god, this like toxic male is like stringing along this woman, and it's like it's still Nicole like being like toxic, and like the fact that she was
I'm
like,
saying
oh,
it, yes,
yeah,
fully.
yeah. Like Nicole was like floored by Flora's comments, like, wait, oh, is Laurel getting mixed messages from things that I'm doing? That's bizarre. Like it was wild. And it was unbelievable. This was Flora's like most time she's spoken the entire season, and it was very impactful. Her and Kifla, they don't have a lot of moments, but their moments are very great.
They don't miss.
Yeah.
And let's like just take it through the through line of this Nicole and Laurel part for this episode. So then we do get the hookup cam, which I'm just like, oh no, like no, please. I'm like, Jay, put my eye mask and my earplugs in. But I what do you think? I don't know how to say this. What do you think of like Nicole's approach? Obviously, like maybe this was edited differently, but from what we see, they hook up, and in the morning, Nicole is like, so now let's discuss boundaries. That can never happen again, and it's your fault.
Yeah. It's I mean, we just said the word, but it's pretty toxic, right? It's I'm gonna bring you in, tease you along, have something happen, and then rip it away. And like I feel bad for Laurel. Like Laurel's had a lot of like public heartbreak. You got like if you go through this, like she's someone that hasn't been on like a lot of seasons. You think she has, but she really hasn't. But you go down the line, and it's like there's been a lot of like relationship turmoil that she's had through the years. I think the Nicole one kind of takes the cake as like the biggest one, but there's been like stuff in the past that she's had, and I mean, you got to feel bad for her. Like her crying to Cara amazingly, and I think to Avery as well. Like you have to feel for her because she's obviously been through so much with Nicole before the season, and it's gonna rip. The Band-Aid was like ripped open, and the wound was exposed, and they're doing it all again. And it obviously is going to end horribly based off the social media interactions that they've had since then. So it's not great all the way around.
Yeah, it's tough. Like if I were Laurel and I saw the clip of Nicole being like, "Well, I like the attention. Like the attention's nice." It's like, like that's a terrible thing to say when you like someone, or to hear when you like someone. But at the same time, and so like yes, everything you said, I agree completely. Small, like 5%, like Laurel is not hearing Nicole. And like, yes, her actions are misleading. And I think Nicole deserves 99% of the blame. But like 1% is like, she's up to her old tricks, Laurel. Like, fool me 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
Still shame on them. She shouldn't be doing it to you. But like, She's bad news. Like the two of them are
Yeah.
bad news. So I guess we're gonna see more of it.
Unfortunately, yeah. And it's again, it's going to play out horribly bad. So that's got that to look forward to.
From one healed relationship maybe to another, Kara has a conversation with Leroy and Cam, kind of brokered by Leroy, and that goes horribly.
Yeah, just about as well as the Laurel and Nicole stuff. I think I would say it went. Leroy trying to play peacemaker, trying to get Kara and Cam on the same page because he knows for everyone's purposes, if all three of them could work together, they'd probably be able to run the whole season. Like they have ins with all these different people. If they were actually able to work together, it would go very very well. And Cam again tries to make the point of Kara, you weren't with me, and I feel like this is only because we know what kind of really happened with the Ayana stuff. I do wonder if part of it that they're not showing is Cam being like, Ayana was like truly horrible. And if you couldn't side with me on that, Takara, like what does that say about you? What does that say about like your relationship with me and Leroy that like you wouldn't stand with us with everything Ayana was saying? But again, we don't know specifically what she was saying. We don't know specifically the fallout. We don't know how targeted it was to Cam or Leroy. Like so this is unfortunately we can only speculate just based off some of like the postseason conversations that's been out there. But that feels like it has to be embedded in what Cam is saying to Kara and why she feels so hurt that Kara threw a rogue vote to Rachel when it was all said and done.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we talked about that last week, like why all of the defense in the Janelle and Leroy piece, but that didn't carry over to Cam's like anger towards Ayana from like the audience, the other contestants, whatever. So yeah, I agree. Like I don't think we can look at each episode in a vacuum. Like that's in the room like from a day ago when Ayana and Cam get into it. So yeah, really I just think neither of them entered into this conflict with like an intended resolution. Like when Kara interrupts her to be like, "Oh, I knew you were going to use this as a reason." It's like bad, bad. Like, what's your
Yeah.
objective? Are you actually, and maybe this is the problem because so all three of them, including Leroy, are just like power players who have been in this game a long time. And they're like not doing the politicking. They're just like, all right, whatever. Like, we'll fight about it. Like, no
Mhm.
one's really finessing this relationship.
Yeah, no, the second car cut Cam off and like didn't even let her finish. Like they both kind of had their mind set up because yeah, they're both used to being like the type A person in whether it's an alliance or a group. Killer Cam, Kara when she was with Paulie, they were the heads of the snake that they were always kind of running it. So it would take a lot for both of them to kind of put down their swords and work together. And the fact that they got off to a rough start was only going to make it more challenging. So they're going to have to go head to head.
And if Kara really believes, which I think she does, and I think in a lot of ways she's the voice of the audience, a large part of the audience right now. If Kara really does believe what she says of you were just looking for a reason, you didn't want to work with me, you wanted to get me out, and so I gave you a smidge of a reason and you ran with it, then put your tail between your legs, apologize, get back on the same page and make her say that, like but that's not Kara's game and that's
No.
not why we love Kara. So it was hard to see. Like, it's exciting because that's who they are. They're all stubborn, like, powerhouses, but I'm like, "Where's Wes?" Like, do a
Mhm.
little, like, dance or something, and I think this bridge could have been mended if they, like, wanted it to be mended.
Yeah, and honestly, probably Leroy was. As much as Leroy is so well liked, he's also not like the best peacemaker. I feel like because he's not the best political person. His political game is just being so well liked by a lot of people, but he's not the great at like socially commanding a room and getting people together. Like you said, they needed someone like Wes who is a good speaker manipulator in like a good way, almost in this case, to manipulate people to work together. Like that's not Leroy's strength. His Leroy's game plan is can't we all just get along? Like and for Cam and Cara, that's very much not like they're very much no. This is my way or the highway. So to not have that person in the middle bridge that gap was pretty big.
The other thing I thought was, like, a little interesting nugget that gets disposed of and probably won't ever matter again, so why not talk about it for 30 minutes? Cam accuses Kara of going into the deliberation because Kara, again, voice of the audience, is like, my vote didn't matter. You knew
Hmm.
that. Like, I just wanted to protect my star, whatever. You got what you wanted. And Cam is like, well, you came in trying to force a tie vote and like you didn't get what you wanted, which was a tie. I don't have the numbers in front of me crunched, but I feel like that should have Carr at least should have double clicked on that and been like, "Who told you that?" Or like
Hmm.
say more about that. They were just like not engaging and really getting to the bottom of it. Do you think there was anything to that? I wish we would have seen that if that
Yeah,
was
I mean, there must have been
happening.
something to it because I would imagine Kara's game plan wasn't just to not vote for Rachel and just like throw a vote somewhere else. Like I imagine she had a game plan. I don't think her game plan was just to throw a rogue vote.
But
Now,
why not? Isn't that a perfect game plan? Isn't that what like Jay does this week? Is like, I'm just not gonna vote for the person that I want to go to them and say I didn't vote for you, as opposed to Tina.
yeah,
Like,
maybe in Cam's head, because for her, she would always have a play to do as a vote. Like in her mid or in her head, maybe she's thinking there's no way Kara's only game plan was just to throw a rogue vote because I would never do something like that. But maybe Kara's game plan was just to do that, and Cam just doesn't believe her because for Cam that seems insane. Like, of course you're going into a nomination with a game plan of wanting to get what you want because that's something that I was always do. But yeah, maybe Kara really was just like I'm trying to avoid blowback, and I'm just going to throw my vote elsewhere. And then by doing that, I got the blowback. But maybe that was just her game plan.
okay, and listeners at me, watchers, viewers, whatever, watch at me. Don't watch me at me because that would be great. The KD Cam Defense group would love to know that because if Carr was
Hmm.
coming in to tie the vote and uproot the plan, then we have a justification. And right now, I'm fighting without a justification, so I don't need it, but I'd like to have it.
Yeah, I would love to know, and I don't think we'll ever know because I don't think they do reunions. So this will live in infamy.
Okay, then here comes Brandon to just escalate the plot, and I texted you about this while we were
Hmm.
watching because well, whatever. I was just like, the way my jaw had to come up off the floor, like, agree or disagree with Brandon. I truly don't believe the 8-year no contact really had anything to do with it, but he ate her up. He ate Kara up with that. Like, I was shocked at what he just like laid out his whole life, good and bad,
Hmm.
made her
Yeah,
feel this big.
he laid out his whole life like it was the Parenthood series. The marry, the kids, the divorce, the on his own. Like it was a full saga. Like Brandon lived a full life, and Cara did not know anything about it.
It
Not
was
even
the
Instagram like.
club, whatever, another club, but instead it was, yeah, married, 2 kids, dad died, almost died in 2 car accidents, marriage failed. I was like, "Oh my."
I had kids on this show. I went to jail on this show. I did this on this show. That's what Brandon did the whole time off the show.
I almost clipped that and was like, Maybe it's too fresh of a reference." But um, yeah, that was absolutely insane. Why would I risk $250,000 on someone I haven't talked to in 8 years? And poor Cara has to defend it 'cause she's like, I'm a hermit. Like, I don't talk to
Mhm.
anyone. I felt bad. Like, and again,
Yeah.
Brandon has been willing in confessional to be like, look at her arms, look at me. Like, I got to get this woman out of here. So I wish he wasn't kind of falling on the we're not friends defense because I do think he has a lot of love and respect for Kara. So I don't think it's like as deep as this is now spiraled to.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, but also I feel like it is kind of both. Like I think for Brandon, like if Carr really was like that close a friend, I don't think you make this move on them, even if you think they're such a big threat. Like maybe near the end of the game, but like it's still pretty early on. Like you don't have to make this move now, but I don't think they like he considered them that close. And like 8 years is a long time. Like that's like if you don't speak like when you graduate from middle school and you write have a good summer, even though you're gonna see them in like 2 months, and you don't talk to them again until they graduate college. Like that's a long time to like not speak to someone. So I get it. Like he could say like, oh, we're cool going into a season. Cause yeah, like, oh, this is someone I remember. But like when push comes to shove, where's there's no loyalty there. 8 years.
yeah, but yeah, agreed. And I also just think it's a different attitude towards the game. Like Brandon, thank hope. Thankfully, hopefully, no. Thankfully, says at the end, like, I want to come back. I want to keep coming. Doesn't give us the Rachel, like, I'll never say never. And
Hmm.
that's great. I'd love to see Brandon back. But All Star is kind of a different game. Like, yes,
Hmm.
if you're a Tina, Veronica, like, if you've maintained friendships for 20 years, okay. But even that 8-year friendship in like a regular or non friendship, frenemyship, whatever, absent friendship, if you're in a regular season of the challenge where this is going to be like your career, maybe you're more sensitive to pissing off Kara.
Right.
But if you're on All Stars and it's 250 grand and only one of you can get it, I may never see this woman again and I don't care about it. Like, this is my shot. So again,
Hmm.
I love the energy of that move. But as Leroy would say, this talk was absolutely pointless. Let's go to the challenge.
And let's go to the challenge. It is a throwback, as TJ points out. It's called Bobblehead Bobsled. They did this season 17, Duel 2. I don't know why we're like randomly bringing back challenges they already did. It's not like so. I think Survivor did that like season 30 as like a retrospective. Like so, it's like all right, let's just start bringing back random challenges. They're done. Cool. So they're in 4 teams, 3 teams of 5, 1 team of 4. They have to slide down a bobsled wearing a giant bobblehead of themselves, collecting liquids because TJ went first and unplugged a cork in their jug of a liquid, a water. I don't know. It's spilling out. Got to refill it. Got to collect the liquids on the way. And then here's like the key point that I don't think I knew until they read the results, but it's not only who collects the most liquid, and it's also not who does it the fastest, but I guess there's a ratio, and it's who collects the most liquid average time is the winner.
Yeah, liquid per second, which is a
Yeah,
funny thing to say.
classic metric.
So I love this. I loved everything about it. I do want to get the BCR, but first, in terms of the throwback to the challenge, I loved it. The random throwback. It's a little different because I went to the wiki for Duel 2 and read the descriptions. Slightly different. There wasn't any liquid in that one. It was puzzle
Hmm.
based in teams of 2. Regardless, I wish, and I want to say maybe we talked about this in the first All Stars. Like, every challenge should be a throwback there, or like
Hmm.
half the challenges should be a throwback, or here, update the throwback, do something like memorable, put names on a coconut and make it harder, whatever.
Yep.
um so I loved it when they threw the mask head, whatever it is, at TJ. I genuinely, because he was like, we have a throwback, I thought they were throwing an Xbox. Like, I thought it was gonna be like, we're playing for a Fandango subscription.
Right.
I was like screaming, and then it was just the mask. But regardless, I
Hmm.
loved it.
Yeah, and again, though, I mean, we can get to the BCR after this, but I don't get why they have abandoned like one of the core things that the show used to do, which was either the winning person from the daily or the winning person elimination can pick the order of the teams. I don't get it, especially for something like this where clearly going not first was like a huge advantage. Like at least to see how one person does it, specifically Brad, and what not to do. But that's always created so much like dynamics and fights, and it would lead to like elimination. Like I don't go why they don't bring that back. Like for Cara, like Cara wins the elimination, she should be able to pick what order her team goes in and like set the order for everything for the next week. I don't understand why they've abandoned that for years now.
I agree with you completely. I think maybe there's an asterisk on these like randomized teams. I'd still prefer it. I'd still prefer whatever team randomly gets Kara gets that
Yeah.
selection or whatever. Or, if it's a guy's day and she hates the guys on her team, she could put them first. She could self-sabotage her own team. Like, who cares? It
Hmm.
may not be it may not be an advantage to the whole team. So I agree. At minimum, and we've talked about this in past seasons, I would accept a quarantine. Like, the other teams cannot watch this because I agree it
Right.
was an absolute huge disadvantage for their first team. Even though Brad's done a version of this challenge before, he was the
Hmm.
only person still on this season who was on. Rachel was too, but she's sadly gone. Um, I agree. It's tough when something like this really matters. I also think again, like the one team with 5 was weird. They
One team
win.
before.
No, it was one. Okay, one team before. Fine.
Yeah.
I thought it was one. Wait, how many people do we have left?
We have 19. It was 5 5 5 4.
Let's play Who Did I Not Write Down from the dark blue or the light blue team.
Ooh, this
Who
is a
did
fun game.
I erase? The
Let's see.
Kyle.
Dark.
Who's the Kyle of this season? Remember when we forgot he was on the season?
Yeah, well, maybe we should. Dark blue, Laurel, Ryan, Brandon, Flora, Avery.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Did you forget my
I'm
girl?
sorry. Another attack on Adam inadvertently.
Forgetting his. Oh, you forgot Adam or you forgot his girl?
No, I forgot Avery.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
the BCR of the week. We have a light blue, and when we start with light blue, we know we have a problem
I
because
thought
that
the
means
same
dark
thing.
blue is coming. Not great. So we have light blue, and then later on we got the dark blue, and then orange and red in the middle. Also very similar. Little troubling.
Shout out to the standard 3-pack primary color food dye, making that water happen.
If you're gonna do light blue and dark blue, at least like name them. Like there's like a bajillion names for colors. You can name the colors that are, like make it navy and turquoise or something. Not turquoise. Is turquoise a blue? I don't know. But like it's in the vicinity.
Look, don't discredit yourself from the BCR already. Like, if you don't know if turquoise is a blue, I don't think we could be doing the Brian's color report.
It's like when I tried to name that Pokemon character. I think I landed on turquoise.
um, but okay, so I did crunch all of the numbers
Okay,
on
great.
the ounces per second because I notably wanted to know if Ryan's extra bag, my boy Ryan's extra bag, would have mattered. But before I guess we get to the results, any general takeaways from the challenge?
I felt bad for Brad. He took it really hard. Him sticking up the joint. I guess it was crazy to see. Even Leroy said it was amazing to see him so upset at Brad as he was. Uh, it was funny. I think it was Steve that had the confessional that talked up Derek, and I don't know if we need to like. I mean, I think we have to have the conversation about Derek later on, but he's I think this is like the second time someone has talked about how Derek's doing so well, and now here Steve was like, "Look out for Derek. He's gonna be like in the final. He's on the poster for the for the entire season." So is this the season of Derek? I don't know, but he's like he's moving and grooving.
Are you willing winner pick locking it in?
I don't think I could ever make Derek a winner pick, but I would have set his odds at like less than 1% going into the season, and now they're at least in the higher single digits going as far as we are as here, especially with TJ saying like anyone can win a final. So I don't think the final is going to be crazy physical. So sure, I think Derek's in the mix, which would be a lot of fun.
Should we do the BDR, Brian's Derek report?
Sure, we'll save that for later.
If you have anything to add, you don't have to do it every episode because I think the
Right.
first after he was up for elimination or in the conversation, then we really haven't seen much of Derek except for a few kind of in the Keith LaFlora spot.
Yeah, it's a good
But
spot though.
more on the physical side. Better spot than I could hope to have.
Mm-hmm.
I did honestly like the masks were killing me. Like Brad's had a beard. The earrings on Nicole's were very strange, but it was very funny to see them like flapping in the wind. But I do think in defense of Brad, having 4 people, as I just learned that all teams had 5, is a huge disadvantage. I get it that in theory it takes somebody a little bit longer for the 5th person to get down, and then it's factored in the ounces to Alpine ratio, but I still had an issue with it. I just want it to be even. I just want it to be even.
It's tough. I mean, it's like literally, I don't think they could make it. Isn't 19 a prime number? So I think they were kind of screwed no matter what.
Individual.
Well, they could also do that, sure.
Recall the first challenge. Okay, so let's get down to the ounceage, baby. What everyone came to this episode to hear about. So Orange Team wins. They had 0.642 ounces per second. Okay. They won by quite a lot. Then the second, so that was Cam, Tina, Kifla, Derek, and Steven. 2 stars,
Steven,
interestingly, out of commission. I don't fight the notes, okay? Steve. And then light blue and dark blue are the losers here.
Yep.
Dark blue with 0.464 ounces per second. And then light blue had 0.389 ounces per second. Red coming in second place. They were only 0.02 ounces per second more than dark blue. So then I was like, well, Ryan had that extra bag. Well, let me crunch a few of those numbers now. We know between you and me, I'm not the math person.
Hmm.
So no one fact check this challenge stats. But even if it were like 10 ounces, I estimated like they'd get at least 10 ounces out of that pouch. And I think that's conservative.
This is great. This is like one of those like interview questions where you're like, how many ping pong balls can fit on like an airplane? I love you like talking at your showing your work here. This is great.
Yeah, I'm looking for a consulting job, please. No. Um, if we estimate 10 ounces out of the bag and
Hmm.
an extra 5 seconds to take those 10 ounces and put it in the container, that would
Hmm.
still put them at 0.494 ounces, which puts them like handedly has them win. And I didn't do any more work than that because I was like, they could have easily done 10 ounces in 5 seconds. So Ryan did cost them the win, which
Wow.
to me, on a classic like early All Stars season, I would expect them to do some garbage like, oh, Brad and Ryan, like you were the reason your team's lost, so you're gonna go into the elimination.
Hmm.
But no, we're playing some real game here.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think it would happen from Ryan, but I really thought Brad was gonna like almost. I thought he was gonna fall on his sword. Like I thought
Me
Brad would
too.
be like, I really screwed this one up, guys. Like I deserve to go in. It's not fair for like someone else to like go in, toss me in. I'll try to earn my way back. Like this is All Star season 1,000%. Brad is going into this elimination without a doubt. So like you said, it's amazing kind of like the shift that has happened here on All Stars 4 that his name is not even up for discussion. He doesn't even get like a throwaway vote. So it's wild that that's the shift because I was really expecting Brad to be in this elimination.
No, and I thought that was gonna be a domino effect where Ryan was then gonna be like, "And me too, like, I had that pouch," because like, honestly, the pouch, I guess, built some intrigue, but otherwise never comes up again that he had it, except for me crunching the nums. So, I'll never use that abbreviation again. But yeah, I was kind of hoping because I was like, I don't want, like, a Leroy. I love Ryan, but I did not want a Leroy Brandon elimination.
Yeah. No, and I mean that's what we got, but it was at
I'm the
least it
only
was
one. It was, like, near unanimous.
yeah. Yeah. Bumper for them. Womp womp.
How much of this well, like, I was gonna say, how much of everyone else's decision let's, like, briefly talk through that in the deliberation. Like,
Mhm.
Cara opens, like, "Boom, I'm Brandon, I'm Leroy." But then you have Veronica, Adam, Jay, and Ace, who, we saw last week, Cara's like, "I'm on an island," so I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if the votes were gonna go her way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this truly swung the votes at all, but I think like Kara stepping up to the plate and be like, "This is what I'm doing," kind of just also reinforces how badly Tina played it from the previous vote, where she was like, "Oh, I'm going to vote last. I'm going to let things like play out." Like again, I don't think it would have mattered, but if Tina stepped to the plate, being like, "I'm voting for Boom and Boom," people jump on board. It opens up the possibility of the snowball effect and you get one or two more votes and things go your way. It seemed like everyone was 100% on board. I mean, Jay was the only one who didn't vote for them just because his allegiance to Brandon. So he had a throwaway vote. So again, I don't think it would have mattered if someone really wanted to try to push it, but it also just reinforces how badly Tina did previously. I think for everyone else, it probably makes sense, honestly, because Leroy and Brandon when you're stacking the deck are two of the strongest men probably left. Obviously, Leroy and Cam are probably the strongest duo as a power voting couple left. So I think it probably helps most people involved to split them up. So I don't see who amongst at least this group of five this this wouldn't benefit.
I agree. It's a tough draw for that sort of alliance brewing with Jasmine and Brandon and Cam and Leroy and whoever else may be involved there with this group of people, besides maybe Jay, because Veronica is like exacting revenge on the Rachel side
Right.
of things, which I get it from her perspective, and she's also probably motivated to get them in, just in general. But like, it wasn't really a hit on her, Tina, and Rachel. It was just a hit on Rachel. I think
Yeah.
without Rachel, Veronica's longevity like skyrockets in
It does.
in a way. Her threat
Yeah.
level is much smaller.
100%.
Um, and then Adam and Ace are really kind of like loose old school cannons. Like Adam's got this attitude of like, you're lucky to go in. It's your chance to win a star. Game recognized game. I'm voting you in. And Ace has always from like the early days been like a little bit weird about game and voting. So,
Mhm.
like, I don't get much from him strategically. So, I just a rough draw for you boys.
Yeah, Ace. All of Ace's votes up until this point, I think even his first vote was like, "Well, if everyone's voting one way, I'm going to vote another way." And now here he
Yep.
doesn't do that. But he's kind of been. We haven't really gotten a clear sense of Ace's allegiance really to much of anyone. I'm sure he, has some maybe some closer ties to some of the old school people, but yeah, we don't really see much out of Ace right now.
And if looks can kill, when Kara posts that, and I thought Kara had like a nice, respectful like way of putting it up of just like we deliberated. And it's like with love and
Hmm.
respect. If looks could kill, Kara'd be dead from Cam when they flashed to her face, seeing Leroy nominated. Woo.
Yeah, I mean, Kara, for all of her faults, she's usually not like the most disrespectful person. It's You don't
No,
really see Kara as like the instigator throwing insults and stuff. So it would have been quite surprising to see her do that, if anything.
totally. But I guess let's go to the arena and see how this shakes out. Not that we've spoiled it.
Yeah, we got Mission Improbable. Sets up. It's a puzzle. Both players are uh hovering over their kind of puzzle board, very similar to like a survivor puzzle. 5 balls, 5 targets in the middle. You have to maneuver the board with your arms to like lift it and twirl it and stuff like that to make the balls drop into the center into the 5 targets.
Much like you with light blue, when I saw this puzzle drop down, this maze, I was
Hmm.
like, oh no. Because while I didn't want Brandon to go in a vacuum, I really wanted Leroy to stay. And when I see a maze drop down, I got very, very, very nervous for Leroy.
Yeah, and I mean we get so obviously there's the 3 men that win. 2 of them, Steve and Kifla, are star holders, so they're obviously not going to toss themselves down. And it was tossed off to Derek about what he would do. And I actually thought this was a great spot for Derek if he wanted to toss himself in. You're not going to, for Derek especially, you're not going to have a lot of eliminations that seemingly you match well up against really anyone, unless like based off your size. And you get a shot here with like a puzzle. Now, it turned out it probably wouldn't have worked out well because it did seem to be pretty physically tiring based off how Brandon and Leroy were acting at the end of it. So it probably wouldn't have worked. But it seemed like he should have like swapped with Brandon to take the shot at Leroy here. Amazingly, like there's very few instances for Derek where that would open it up for, but it seemed like the shot.
So I had the same exact thought. I would say my gut said it was a little too soon, just because it's like, I don't know how many weeks this is, but I don't know like how critical it is to get a star. Now he'd be it's Adam and Kifla.
Yeah.
Well, he would have taken Adam, so it's Kifla and Steve. So
Hmm.
I guess he's the most likely to have their star maintained because if
I
he's
think he would.
if they think he's the least threatening, but yeah, I agree. I did have the same thought that it's like, all right, you get to see this. You're probably likely if you're in the bottom to get voted in anyway.
Yeah.
So maybe you'd rather have control over it when it's your time. I don't know. I don't blame him for not stepping forward at this point against 2 like
Hmm.
formidable components, even knowing it's a maze. I don't really know Derek's puzzle skill set, but
I hope it's good. Otherwise, I don't know what he's going to win. But no
in any
offense.
event, he's been like killing the challenges. I mean, in any event, though, what was weird to me is his rationale was solely about how he's already lost to Brandon and doesn't want to lose to Brandon again. And so that to me is like, do they not know how the mechanism will work? Like, can they not pick who they replace?
I
Do
think
they
so.
not know
Said
who
it.
it would work?
TJ said you could replace either Brandon or Leroy. I don't know if that was a voiceover and it's like not super clear to them as to what they could do. It sounded like it was in person, and it would be kind of crazy if they didn't know that they could pick and
Yeah.
choose who they would want to replace. That would be kind of wild if they didn't know the actual game mechanics. So yeah,
Well,
if anything, like you see other people being like, "Oh, Brandon knocked me out once before. This is my chance for revenge." And also, I would say the better move would be to replace Brandon anyway, like in this elimination, go up against Leroy. So kind of both things working there.
I agree. I guess I should think more about how many weeks there are until the final with how many people there are. Especially they can figure that out because they know there are 6. I mean, maybe there's a purge, maybe there's a double
Right.
elimination, but more or less they can kind of figure it out.
Do you think? I mean, this was a topic with the Red Skull season, but do you think we're going to reach a point where there's going to be, I don't know, 10 people left and 4 people just go home because they don't have it? Or do you think we're going to siphon it down and it's going to end with 6 people remaining after like the last elimination?
So my instinct is that it absolutely should end with like a known this is your last male week, your last female week. So you have to win to have to get into like you all get one more chance, but
Right.
in the same mechanism. So if you're not in the winning group and you don't and you're in the middle group, you're screwed. You're going to go home and it's going to be a purge.
Right.
Do I think it's likely? No. I think there probably going to be some ability for like a group effort to like reshuffle the stars.
It's interesting because like this is episode 5. There's still 18 people left. Normally, All Stars is like 11 or 12 episodes. So let's say it's 13 episodes, like and 12 rounds of elimination. There's only 7 more. And even if that would mean there have to be like double eliminations almost every week to get from 18 to 6 for the final.
Well, we've already had one double elimination, right?
So I would imagine maybe there's like 3 more. So let's say there's 7 more weeks of eliminations. 3 of them are double. Like that still leaves plenty of people that are going to be left over come episode 13 if that's what it is.
No, and it makes sense that there would be a purge. I just think there's going to be a non-traditional episode structure to allow the non-star people to get a shot. I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's definitely going to be 6 people, so it's not like some secret star segment will open. I
Right.
just feel like they're not going to do it just like a straight episode and then everybody go home with the last chance. Like there could be a purge, but I think those people will like I don't know, maybe like the 6 star holders will compete and the bottom 2 will have their stars up for grabs and have to fight everybody else, like some
Mhm.
kind of like modified purge so that
It'd be
everybody
interesting if
gets
the
one last
purge.
chance.
It'd be funny if the purge almost became like if you finish in the middle, you're like purged almost because like if you're in the bottom,
Hmm.
you go into elimination, and if you win, you could pick to go in elimination. But if you're in the middle, you're kind of in a no man's land. So like then,
No, and that would be great. Like I think it should just be a standard that's essentially a standard episode
yeah,
except they'd have to like sit around, but um I feel like there will be so I don't think we're going to go just straight to the final with this
hmm
the way things are, but I
yeah,
hope we do. I think that would
yeah.
be
We'll
better.
see. But this elimination was very good. I mean, with back and forth battle, Brandon early lead. Leroy seemingly was panicking a little bit. Cam offered up some cooling words, calming words. Leroy battled back. Brandon took the lead. Leroy battled back, and Leroy pulled out the win. It was a little weird. It felt like as much as I guess Cam was trying to keep calm and composure, but it felt very lackluster when it was over. I don't know. It felt like there wasn't a lot of like celebration. I don't know. It felt like a weird result
Hmm.
when it was done. Could have been my
You
vibe
know,
though.
I could not notice anyone's reaction over my own screaming because I was so happy. And it's crazy because I love Brandon. Was very sad to see him go. I echo what TJ said. I really hope we see him again.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know if he's my guy, like TJ said, but I really love Brandon. But I was like so excited to see Leroy stick around. So yeah, over my own celebration, I didn't I didn't notice the low energy.
Yeah. No, I was very obviously very happy to see Leroy win. Would love to see him make this final with Cam. Would be a lot of fun. But yeah. I was just like I was bummed to see Rachel leave, bummed to see Brandon leave, bummed to see. I mean, this is a great cast. So I mean, bummed almost to see anyone leave, except for maybe Ace. No
No,
offense.
uh, just 'cause you say no offense doesn't make it not offensive.
I thought so. Is
No,
that
I
the
mean,
rule?
recall me saying someone was not my type of guy. I think you're clear. But yeah, I loved this interaction with Leroy and Adam where he's like, "Hey, did you believe it?" Like I did believe for a second Leroy was trying to cut a deal.
No, I didn't think he was setting up for like a punchline. That didn't feel like very Leroy esque to do. But I don't know what he was like getting at. I don't know. But it wasn't that, or to give him his star to Cam because I think, as you said, that would have been a horrible move. So I don't know. It was very funny though.
Yeah, I thought when he's like, if I don't take your star, will you not take mine? I was like, maybe there is a world where he was already going to give a star to Cam. And so he was trying to politic, which is not really his style.
Mhm.
I was like, no, Leroy, no. And then, and then Adam with just like a solid no.
Right.
And Leroy's like, damn, it was a setup. I wanted to say I'm taking it anyway, which I loved. I loved that energy in an otherwise like pretty serious moment for him.
It was giving very much like, I was going to say no, but why are you saying no type moment.
Yeah. And I, maybe there's, we got the barbershop conversation between Adam and Leroy. Like maybe that is
Mhm.
a pair. It seems like Adam, obviously we know later on Adam and Avery are dating in the year 2024, but they definitely have a lot of respect for each other in the paired
Mhm.
challenge they did on the episode you and Rourke were on. And Avery's like kind of always in the background of these shots. Like she was there in the barbershop conversation. So like maybe that is a pair that Cam and Leroy can bring in. Whereas Avery, we've seen her previously kind of floating, not
Yeah.
not listening to Tina, trying to make her own moves. So like maybe that's an unexpected group of four.
Could Avery be like the bitch watch? Because she was in the background when Laurel was like bearing her soul to Kara. She was just like right there. Like maybe she's Mitch watch. I feel like Mitch and Adam are kind of similar-ish by people, so transfers to the girl.
I don't know if I'd say Mitch and Adam are similar.
You don't think Adam eats cold cuts just straight in bed? That's not his vibe.
Honestly, like, no. I think Adam, like, knows, like, the nitrate level of cold cuts and is like, "That's poison to the temple to
Right.
my body."
Hmm.
Like, and I say that with much respect. Like, but I think you'd have to not like Avery to put her in the bitch watch.
We didn't like Mitch. I thought we liked him because of how weird he
Well,
was
that's
in the
Mitch
moment.
watch. You gotta start right, that's Mitch watch.
I guess
You gotta
that's true.
not love someone,
I guess that's
and
true.
then you notice you, like, choose maybe
You
I am
choose.
Adam. Okay,
Okay.
let's make the beauty transcends the experience, and then
Right.
you
Uh,
maybe only Adam could have properly explained Mitch Watch.
right.
It's late.
It is. I got the song for the week. It's very fun.
Hit it. DJ
As I
Sunny D.
as I told you earlier, I was in the lab working up my hot tunes.
Oh my god, I fell over laughing when you said that.
And so I will find a way to get this to be playing. But you know what? Also, this is a plug to join the Facebook group because the lyrics get posted in there. So if you want to know the full lyrics, join the Facebook group and you'll be able to see it.
Not to blow up your spot, but you did not post the prompt.
The prompts disappear. The prompts aren't there when you go back in, they're gone. I just picked like a few highlights from the show. You could probably figure out what prompts I use based on what's in the song. So like if there's things in the song, those I mentioned it to AI. So here we go. This one is titled All Star Warriors. Here we go. All stars in the place. Kara's got her eyes locked on Brendan's face. Leroy's hustling hard, trying to earn a star. Laurel and Nicole, ride that coaster, ain't no matter how far. Eric's in the shadows, plotting his next move. Gotta get that star, gotta prove he can groove. All the drama's heating up, it's getting real intense. In this game of challenges, it's all about suspense. All-star warriors, they're ready to in this game of challenges, they're reaching new heights. They bow for glory, fame and pride. Roller coaster ride, come on for the ride.
I feel like Dream Street is gonna hit you up to like sing that on the reunion concert. Very giving very boy band.
Well, I know I didn't want to trigger Laurel with the mention of a roller coaster, but it had to be in the song. So
I know she hates that phrase. That was like so like you can't give that level of relationship detail, like we don't all know that she hates. That was like deep from a fight. Like
we're learning a lot about Laurel. She loves being a team captain. She hates roller coasters or even the mention of them. Learning a lot.
it's tough. All right,
All
great
right.
plug for the Facebook group. Having a lot of fun there. Check out our Brian's sick beats. Brought a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people in.
It
I
did.
kept like clipping the anytime somebody said that and sending it to you, and then I stopped doing it because like more people were doing it. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of love for the segment. We love the new segment. Always
Love it.
innovating here.
Mm-hmm.
Growth and innovation. the hallmark of the challenge wrap.
And you can subscribe to more innovation at @CohenBryan_ on Twitter, challenge wrap ups on TikTok for as long as that's still standing. They can follow you.
You can only find me in the Facebook group. NGOG is on Yachtis for same reasons I've got my travel headset on, but we'll try to get something going there. Otherwise, yeah, find me in the Facebook group. That's it.
Alrighty, we'll be back next week for episode 6. Until then, have a good one.